So what did I do? I just sorry, I started recording a little early. We cloned this repo and we CD'd into it and we ran bundle. We dropped our database and we created it, migrated it, and seeded it. So that is essentially it for Rails. I could test this out. Rails S-P 3001. Let's go ahead. Get a new tab here. So then I could go to localhost 3001 because that's where my Rails server is running. So there's that. I could check my routes. That looks good. So maybe we could try just doing a get just right here. Get request to APIGs. So there are my two things in my database. So my Rails is looking good. The next thing I could do is split my terminal, CD into client. So I'm going to open this up in code first. So I have that. Okay. So now I have that in code. But yeah, I want to CD into client, run yarn. And this should take a second, but I could do yarn. So once that's done, yarn start. So if like it's the hackathon on Saturday and like maybe y'all have just gotten yourself to a point where like everyone's code base is screwed up and maybe someone messed something up with Git and you're just all confused, you could just delete your projects and just reclone from GitHub. And just, so pushing up to master a lot is going to be getting these small chunks done and pushing up to master. I think that's going to be some helpful advice. Another thing, because then if you're also waiting until like, you know, the cutoff time, and then you all try to push to master at the same time, and it's a whole bunch of changes. Good luck with that. you'll run into some conflicts, and merging stuff sometimes creates bugs because maybe someone did something differently. Yeah, it's do these small chunks and push to master often. It's easier said than done, but I think that'll avoid some problems. Cool. All right. So I should now be able to go to localhost 3000. So we have our home page. We have our G's page. We can go to the new form. I believe we got delete working. Yeah, delete's working. We go to our show page. It's just really the navigation that's set up. And then we can go to our edit page. So let's say for this task, I'm going to have, let's have Sally do the back end. So we're going to do the back end for the things controller. Just get all those CRUD actions done. And we're just going to follow standard CRUD actions and like the standard routes just to make this simpler on ourselves. And then it's just going to make life simpler for everyone. So we do have our things controller. And we do have our routes set up. We did resource routing. So that's all good. You can look at these, go back to the routes. You know, for our things, get API Gs, GID things. So every action in this things controller is going to need, or is going to get, this G_ID, which we can then use to get the G, our generic thing, whatever this is. And then for our show, update, and destroy, we're going to get the ID of the thing. So what I could do there is I could set up some before actions. So I'm going to do this set G. I'm going to do this on all of them because they all need the G. And then I'm also going to do a before action set thing. And then I can come define these methods. Oh wait, and sorry, set thing is going to be only on our show, update, and destroy. So then we can do set G params.find. Oh, sorry, I always do that. G.find. And we'll do params G, what am I doing? Oh yeah, G_ID. We'll do the same thing for thing. Let's call this at thing. And this one's just going to be ID. And this will be, I could do this at G.things.find. Let's just, something that I didn't do yesterday, that kind of, hurt us a little, was, negating the testing. So let's go ahead and start testing kind of sooner than later. So let's do our index method and see if this is working. So for our index, we want to render, let's get back both the G and the things. Because really, I mean, this is the index for the things controller. So really, we just want the things, but let's be nice and get back the G too. So maybe they want that as well. It's not going to hurt us to get back more data than we need. So now I can go test this. I can go into Postman. So that path is the API Gs, and then we need the ID of one, which since I just destroyed my database, I know I should have one with the ID of one. And then things. Now, if you're ever if you're getting confused about these routes, use this Rails info routes as your map. If I do a get request to APIGs and then pass it the ID / thing, that will take me to that index method that we just defined. Oh, I have a put on here, so I need to make that a get. So it's a 404, it doesn't match. I don't have a route that matches that. Pinify G with ID 1. Really? Let's do, so I'm going to get all of my G's. Oh, I deleted it. Okay. When I was testing and I hit the delete button, I deleted the first one. So it's ID 2. And there we go. So my res.data, this is my res.data. It's an object. So res.data.g would be the G, and then the res.data.things would be all of those things. So that is working. Cool. Let's move on. Let's do our def show. I don't even know if we'll really need this. I don't think we do, but let's just do it anyway for the UI. Just see if it's working. So render JSON at, we just want to grab the at thing. So I have a thing with ID 3. So let's match that path. API get, API G's, then the ID of the G things, and then the ID of the thing, which will be 3. Cool. That's working. So let's do our create. Now this is also going a lot smoother because remember yesterday, a lot of those bugs were actually like I had one in the routes file. I had a bug in our routes file because I spelled resources wrong. And then I like also didn't put these controller in the API. So now my code's a little more stable right now. So this is going a lot smoother than yesterday. So it's kind of like broken code leads to more broken code. You know, working code leads to more working code. So for my create method, I know I'm going to want a thing paramd method, sanitize. So this is going to be params.require. So I'm going to make sure there's a thing in my params, and then .permit. So we only have a name on this one. That's the only attribute, is the name attribute. So then I can go ahead and create my thing. Thing.new. What is the difference between new and create?
One is stored in memory and the other is like stored, right? Like actually saved to the database.
Yeah, this one just stores it to memory. It doesn't try to save it. This one does actually create it in memory, but then it also tries to create it to the database. So yeah. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do it like this because we want to do an if statement. So if thing dots, because if it's unsuccessful, we want to do something else, because the create method just returns true or false whether or not it was saved. But we want to do different things depending on whether or not it was saved to the database. So if it's saved, we just want to render JSON thing. or at thing. Not, we can render JSON. Could do like thing.errors. We could do like a status 22. Let's go ahead and add a validation to our thing so we can see this. Really doesn't make sense. Since we only have this name field, like why would we create something if it didn't have a name? So let's go to our thing model and let's do a validates name presence true. That's how you do it. I can't remember why I can never remember that.
You wrote presences.
Oh, presences. Presences. Presence true. I could test that out really quick to see if this is working, just to go into my console and do like a thing, like t equals thing.create and not give it a name. And then t.errors dot full messages. So this one's giving me 2 errors because name can't be blank and my thing belongs to a G, so I need the ID. So there's the 2 reasons it won't create. But that's good enough. I wanted just to make sure that name was working. Okay, so yeah, now we can go, now I know like my model's set up for that. So now I can go test this in Postman. So I can do a post to APIG's 2 things. Once again, if you're confused about that, I want to go to my things create post request to this route. And then I just need to send the data here. This might be something you like document in your Trello card. How do I send data in Postman for a post request or like an update request? Because it's something you don't do all the time, but I do the name of the model and then in brackets, the name of the attribute. And then here, I can type in the value. Let's do a post. Oh yeah, so, well, okay, yeah, sweet. So I caught my error. So GE, so this is a 422. So this is nice. It's catching the error and it's giving me, it's rendering back this error properly. And it's saying, hey, the G must exist because I filled out my controller wrong. I don't want to do it on thing.new because remember, thing belongs to a G. So I want to use my G to create or to make that new thing. So line 14, since we have that association, this is going to give me the ID. I could have also done could have still done it with my thing model. How would I, and then like down here, gone like at thing dot G underscore ID equals at G dot ID. Just to give it that ID, that would have worked, but this is the cleaner way to do it. Let's try that again. Let's send that again. And there we go. That's working. And then, yeah, if I don't have my name, let's not send the name. Oh, now it's saying params missing, but that's like if that's the params dot require. If I don't have the thing param, it's just gonna like break. So it's missing the value thing. So that's from my validation. Sorry, that's from my sanitizer. But if I send this in my params thing name, but it doesn't have a value, then I get my model validation saying, hey, name can't be blank. Go ahead and copy this because this is going to be very similar for my update. Except I'm just going to call for my update. I don't need to do this because my thing is going to be defined. So I can just call my thing update and then my params. Oh, sorry, I'll do my thing params method. So doing these before the actions really is cleaning up my code here. And now I can go test this one out. So I want to go to my update method. Here's my path. So let's do a put request. Let's go ahead. There's these things. I think we had one with 3. And then we can go in and change the name. So that's going to be thing name updated yo. Send that. That's been updated. If I try to update it with a blank name, name can't be blank. So that's looking good. So one more def destroy. Render JSON that thing dot destroy. There's my path for that. It's just the same as my update. I just need to switch it to the delete method. And I don't need any params, so I can do a delete. There it is. So if I try to send that again, it's no longer in my database. Cool. So there's my backend for the things model. We did that in like 20 minutes. Pretty quick. So I could come in now, before I'm ready to commit, maybe I want to go through, look at my changes. Those all look good. Can see what did I do to the thing model. Yes, I added that one. Yeah, I can go ahead and add those. And I'd say things. Something like that. Oh, dang it. I forgot to do one thing before I started today. So before I started it kind of doesn't count because I did do it because I cloned it down. So I cloned down the changes. But what you should do at the beginning of the day before you start working, something with GitHub and Git. Any ideas?
Poll.
Yeah. When you start working, you should poll from master. Just a good habit. Before you start making any changes, get all the changes that are up on master so you're up to date. I technically did that since I cloned from master. So cloning I was up to date. I'm not going to, but I'm gonna, well, I can now go ahead and push. Sure, why not? Git push origin master. Because I've gone through, I've like really looked at my code. I've tested everything I've added. I've tested all of those routes. It's looking good. I can push. Then I go tell everyone, hey, I just got the controllers done for things. Everyone pull down. And then everyone back, okay, Git. They'd finish up where they could get to a point where they could commit, and then they could commit and then pull down. Sweet. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with, I'm going to close this VS Code so I don't edit it. So I'm going to kind of do what I did yesterday and go be another developer and pretend like Sally's still working on that. So I'm going to close out of this because this is going to be a different project. And I'll go ahead and CD into this one. Let's CD into Bob. Okay, so I can open this up in code. And Rails S-P 3001. Split this. You don't need to do this if you're not, if you're just working on yours. And then yarn start. So once again, I'm going to pretend this is the beginning of the day and that I came in here and I did a get pull origin master, but I'm not going to pull because I don't want to grab those changes that were just there. I'm going to pretend like I'm pulling it, but I'm not going to. Because I am up to date minus those one changes we just pushed up. So Bob's going to have everything except the things controller changes. And Bob's going to be working on the front end. So we're going to be working on the front end without a back end for this. So let's go ahead and do a yarn start. So yeah, if because now I'm on this different project, if I try to go to API G's 1 or 2, oh sorry, 2/things, then we don't have those changes. So I want to expect this to work. So that's exactly what I'm expecting. The action index cannot be found. Is that making sense to everyone? Because I didn't actually pull down from master, so I don't have Sally's changes. So let's go ahead and start building this out. But let's do say this. Let's say that before Sally started to work, or we had us before our meeting or during our meeting. I'm going to do this in my show page. So I'm going to go to my GE page. Let's just say that like I was talking to Sally and she's like, hey, you can do a API call. You can do a GET request to API/G's, then give me the GID things. If you do that, in your res.data, you're going to have a G, which is going to be the G thing, which has like the name, description, And then you're also going to get back, that the things, which will be in an array, have an ID and name. Does that make sense? This is our res.data. And that's what we just did. But we're pretending it's not done. But you as a backend developer could guess, hey, this is probably what this is going to look like. And especially if we're following like the Rails conventions, it's going to be that object. Sorry, let me make this a little more clear. That's going to be an array of objects with ID and name. And then we also did a, if we do a post to API things and, send the name, like real star required. I'll give you back that. Same thing if we do a put. And then the ID of the thing. That will update. Create into DB. And this updates thing to DB. And then we also have our delete. Send any data with that. Cool. So as if I have this as the front end developer, I can get essentially this whole thing done even without a back end. And we did this yesterday. Is there any questions on this? And this is another reason why it is nice to follow the Rails conventions. And they're not just Rails conventions. These are largely just like the API conventions. This one right here, our get, we're kind of going a little off style here. This one should maybe normally just return like the things, but how we want this, we kind of decided, hey, we want both the G and the things, and we're just going to combine this in one API call. We could do it in two, because we could do the G show and then the things index, but we're doing it this way. Let's take a break here. Any questions or anything though? Let's come back at 10:35 and then we'll just start busting this out.